Okay, well, I've been waiting several months to sort of get this started, and I've waited and I've put it off, and I've waited and I've put it off, and now I've been trying to kind of decide how I wanted to define my channel, and I'm still not quite sure how, but this morning I'm going to put on some makeup and I'm going to talk to you because kind of might be running out of time. And the reason I say that is because I'm having a heart cath in the morning, and I'm may or may not get a stent, and this may or may not turn out well, and I have some things I want to share. I'm 66 years old, and I've had a lot of life experiences, and I kind of want to share them. And if you're interested, fine. If you're not, fine. I don't even know if anyone will ever watch this or not. But in the meantime, I'm going to put it out here for you. I put it out with my heart. In all sincerity, I plan to be as honest as I know how to be. And if you're interested in my content, which I think maybe some people will be, please subscribe and hit that little bell, and I'll try to get back to you if I'm lucky and if I'm supposed to. If it's supposed to happen, I'll be back. I'd like to share a little bit of my story with people. So anyway, I'm getting dressed this morning. It's bright and early. I did not sleep one bit last night. Stayed up all night. I just couldn't go to sleep. I think that's normal when you're sort of faced. I think we should always live each day as if it were possibly our last, but I don't think we do. I think most of us live each day as if we were going to live forever. And that's normal. I think we all do that, and especially when we're young, and that's okay. But, and I'm probably going to be just fine. They're probably going to go in. I had a stress test last week just because I've been having some issues, and I just felt like, something wasn't right. And my body told me, was trying to tell me something like, something's going on. And I thought, well, maybe I ought to go get it checked out. So I scheduled an appointment with the doctor, and he wanted me to have this stress test. And so first I had to have an appointment with him, and you have to decaffeinate, which for me, drinking coffee, I decaffeinated for just the appointment, and of course I didn't get to have it that week. I had to wait a week. And so then I had to go in again last week and have it done. And I couldn't get on the treadmill because 4 years ago I had a spinal fusion, and I've got foot drop on my right leg, and so I don't get around as well as I used to. So it was going to be a PET scan with chemical stress test, and that was pretty interesting because first they give you this medicine, and it's a rest thing. It makes your heart at rest, and I was fine with that. And then they come in and they give you this medication that dilates all the vessels in your body. And boy, I had a pounding headache, and I started kind of breathing rapidly, and I had some interesting responses to it, but I didn't have any chest pain. So I'm thinking everything's good. And that was last Thursday. And last Friday morning, mid-morning, I got a phone call from the doctor's office, and his nurse said that he wanted to schedule a that it wasn't normal, and he felt like I needed to have a a heart cath as soon as possible. So I'm going in the morning to have the heart cath. And I'm going at 6 in the morning, which is good for me because that means I don't have to wait around all day and be nervous. So this morning, I'm going out to the county jail to see my grandson who's locked up out there. My only grandson who's been locked up out there for almost a year. And he's awaiting a trial to see whether he's going to have to go to prison for a very long time, which is a real heartbreak for me. He's my only grandson, and he has a bad disease called addiction, and he's been in trouble. He's just turned 25 last Monday, and he has been dealing with addiction, and it's gotten, just like any other disease, especially addiction disease, chronic disease, it's gotten progressively worse, and he's been struggling with it since he's about 18. And we've been through a lot with him. And his mother passed away from the same disease, only a longer progress, different road, which I won't go into today, but she passed away 4 years ago, coming up 4 years ago. She was my only child. And I'm telling you, addiction wants to kill you. And he's just had a lot of issues, and he's been in prison twice, not for anything, not for any violent crimes, just crimes to support his addiction. Like, driving stolen vehicles. He's been caught with meth, which I think is the devil's drug. Completely changes the human that's using it. Just takes their soul when they're active in their disease. And last August, he got out the second time last May, and he was doing great, working hard and working his 12-step program, doing what he needed to do. But he met a girl, got involved with her through his NA program, and she seemed like a sweet girl. It was just too soon, and he got in too deep too quick. And, can't tell him anything. That's part of the disease, too. He's a smart kid, but he'd been locked up for a year and a half, and he'd been lonely, and he just jumped right in with both feet. And it's never simple. She had a little girl with another guy. She was a recovering addict and didn't have that much clean time. And of course, baby daddy's an addict. And as I feared, it didn't last very long. And when he came home, he was heartbroken, and he went back to using, and back to the same old stuff. And his grandfather and I, just couldn't couldn't tolerate. We were trying to help him, but it got to where we just couldn't have it anymore. And we thought, maybe if we let him hit his bottom, he would go get some help with this through his PO. She was trying to help him too. And we got into it one evening, and he had to leave. Or he chose to leave. He was out on the street. And I can't give a lot of details, but what I can tell you is that he got into a scuffle with the police, and guns were involved, and he ended up getting shot multiple times. And a policeman was shot as well. I believe he was shot 11 times and survived. So, life's not done with him yet. That's what I told him. But we've got a long road ahead of us, and this is Texas. And, they want to put him away forever. So, I think the plea deal they offered him was 60 years. Well, that's a life sentence. So, I think we're going to go to trial because there's a few questions out there. But he is a good kid. Excuse me while I line my eyes here. He just has a really bad disease. When he gets clean, he's a completely different human being. Unfortunately, this is a very serious situation. And, I don't know how it's going to turn out. I fear I may never get to spend another birthday or Christmas with him. Excuse me while I get while I'm alive. On the outside. But what I do know is he's been given many second chances, but this is a big one. And I just hope he realizes that, and I hope he puts it to good use. That's up to him. That's all I know is we are all given our choices, and this one's up to him, whether he's gonna do something with it. He can do good with it, and he does practice meditation. His granddad has taught him how to meditate, or shown him some. You can't teach someone how to meditate, but you can certainly give them the basics. And he's used it out in county. Hopefully that'll open him up. And like he said to us, they can imprison my body, but they can't imprison my mind. So that's a good way to look at it for all of us, you know? Every day, if you think about that. Even if you're sick and you can't get out of bed, your body may be sick, but your mind can travel anywhere you want it to. Heard that before in a story, you know, someone confined to a wheelchair. My father was in a wheelchair for 20 years after a car accident. Had he looked at it differently, he could have traveled as far as he wanted to with his mind. Can take you anywhere. Can set you free. You just open it up. But it's been a rough few years. Not what I had in mind. I had to retire early because I had to have the spinal fusion done. I was a nurse anesthetist, and my body gave out. After 37 years of nursing, I had a great career. I had my own problems with medication and addiction to pain medication. So it's a family affair. You have to learn how to forgive yourself. You have to learn how to know that life doesn't owe you anything. You put into it, you get out of it exactly what you put into it. And I was living and trying to work with a lot of pain, so I just thought I could treat myself. But what's the saying? A person that treats themselves has a fool for a doctor. And that's sort of what it was. Anyway, was at the pinnacle of my profession, and you know, I blew it right at the end. But anyway, I had to retire at 62 and had this spinal fusion. And then 6 months later, my daughter died. She'd had a heart transplant. And then she started she got a urinary tract infection. But all isn't what it appeared to be on the surface. But anyway, she had a heart transplant. She got a urinary tract infection, and she was gone in 24 hours. That was my grandson's mother. So we've had a lot to deal with, but for a year and a half, I laid on my sofa waiting to die, wanting to die, but I didn't. So finally decided it's time to get up and start living again. And now I just want to share that, you can survive these sad losses, and you can have a life, and you can have joy, and there are lessons to be had in them from them, and you have to pick yourself up. You have to see the lesson in it and give back. You know, you can't just always think that life owes you something. You've got to give back. And I have been given joy from the people in my life that really and truly love me. And I've got wonderful friends and people that care about me and rely on me, and I wouldn't trade my life for anything. Would I like to have my daughter back? Yes, I would. Would I like to have her back being sick like she was the last 3 or 4 years of her life, or being in the depths of her addiction? No, because meth completely changed her, and it made her mean, and it made her say things to me that she would have never said. She would have never said or done the things she did. She was intelligent, educated. She was an RN. So things happen, and addiction, it doesn't have a conscience. It happens in every family, or any family, and it's not just, I think some people are think that it's happens just to people on the street, and that's not true. It happens to every socioeconomic bracket can suffer from this disease. And the problem is that our society keeps treating addiction with prison. And then the recidivism rate is so high because people just get set up to keep going back. And that's what happened with my grandson, And it's particularly high among minorities. And he might as well be a minority because we don't have any money to hire expensive lawyers. My husband and I live basically on our retirement. He drives a school bus, and I have a little bit of an annuity, and we just get by. So he has to have a public defender. So it's the same thing. And, each time he got arrested the first 2 or 3 times, he never did get drug court because he wasn't caught with drugs until the last time. But every time he was arrested, it was all related to his addiction. The stealing, the burglary, whatever. It was all just to support his drugs, getting his drugs. Our society's a mess. People think, well, these people they have a character defect. No, they have a disease. It's a brain disease. And meth, particularly, it remodels the brain. Studies have shown that. And, I've got to go up to see him today and tell him about what I'm going to have done tomorrow. And I know it's going to worry him. Because basically, other than his dad's hadn't been in the picture since he was a young baby, basically. And it's going to really worry him because all he has in his life is me and his granddad. But hopefully, it's I've got a little coronary artery disease, and they're going to go in there tomorrow, and they're going to find out where it's blocked, and they're going to put a little stent in there, and open it up, and I'm going to feel better and have a little bit more energy. That's been my issue. Haven't had any energy. And, get back on track and be available for him. And for the people that love me, honey, just stick around. Because, can y'all hear I've got 3 little dogs. Can y'all hear them? I've got a little Shih Tzu that belonged to my daughter, and she's about the cutest thing. Excuse me, I got to bend down here and get a black eyeliner. Anyway, she's sleeping right under my stool, and she's snoring. She probably snores as loud as I do. Now, you young girls, when y'all do your liner, don't do what I'm doing, which is pull on your eye. Now, I do sell cosmetics. I'm a Senegence representative. And I like to look as good as I can. But really, what I want to do is just share my life experiences with everybody. Maybe I can help somebody out there. Because if you're struggling with addiction and you need help, I'm happy to be there to help you as much as I possibly can. If I can help you get into treatment or get you to a meeting or talk to you about, just talk to you, I'm happy to do that. Because you don't have to live in addiction. It's hell. And you can get clean. And you can get out of it. You don't have to live in that. I have to live that way and be free of that. And when my grandson, when he gets locked up and he gets clean, he's a completely different person. He's kind and he's calm. Boy, my eyes are sure bloodshot. I can tell I didn't sleep last night. He's caring and loving, but when the meth gets a hold of him, it's a wild ride. That's a drug I never, ever, ever want anything to do with. Never touch. Never touched it. Ever. And I have a lot of compassion for people that are in the throes of that addiction. Look at this primer, how it lengthens. That's pretty amazing. It's finally starting to get warm here. It's been cold. But it's finally warming up. So I was born in Colorado, in this beautiful little town called Salida. And it was right in the heart of the Rockies. It's now sort of become a, ooh, look at that, a tourist town. And the real estate is, good Lord, is it expensive. It used to be very reasonable to live there because there wasn't any work, or back in the 80s, and after the Colfax mine closed, there wasn't any work there. You could buy a house for a song, but there wasn't any employment. A lot of people started retiring there, and they renovated the downtown area. It's off Highway 50. If you ever travel through Colorado, it's go west from Pueblo, like you're going to go to Gunnison, you're going to go through Salida. And it is a charming little town. And there's like fishing and whitewater rafting. And you've got a view, there's like 14,000 foot mountains that surround it. So it's really, really, really pretty. And we lived there until I was about 2.5. And then we moved back to Texas, to a tiny little town called Esteline. That's where my father was born and raised. About 350 people. And I went to 1st and 2nd grade in Esteline. The only paved streets was the highway that ran through town and around the square. The rest were just red dirt road. They don't have a school there. It closed. I think it closed right as I was getting ready to graduate from high school in 1971, somewhere around there. Maybe a little bit before then. And then we moved to the big city of Memphis, Texas, when I was in the 3rd grade. It was a great place to grow up. I didn't realize it at the time. It was a great time, and it was a great place. We were safe. Everybody played outside. We were safe to play outside. And if you misbehaved, my mother knew I'd done something bad, and she knew about it if I had done it before I got home. So I was going to get in trouble for sure. No regrets about the way I grew up. I grew up with good values. In this small town. Only problem is everybody knew your business, and if they didn't know it, they made it up. But I wouldn't trade it. I had to move away from there to come to a real appreciation of it. Unfortunately, that little town is beginning to die, and it's sad to see it because there's no new businesses coming in. Farming's going more corporate. I have one friend that stayed there and still lives there. It's kind of sad, makes my heart hurt. I still managed to find trouble to get into, of course. I had a wild streak. And that's a story for another time. For sure. Got my driver's license at 14. I believe our class, when you use Lip Sense, which is our lipstick line, you want to put it on clean, dry lips. So I always use a little witch hazel to take off any powder or makeup foundation I might have gotten on my lips when I was putting on my makeup. Anyway, what I was saying is, I think our class, when I say our class of 1971 high school graduating class, was the last class, I think, to get our driver's license at 14, which was too young, by the way. But, of course, we weren't complaining. Okay. This color's called Dawn Rising. Might as well been. I didn't close my eyes last night. I think I'm a little bit worried. That's just because I'm a nurse. I know about everything can go wrong. But I'm going to be all right. I'm going to live to tell y'all more stories. Because I got a bunch of them. Ah, got out of the line. This one's about dry. Not time to open a new one. 3 thin coats. Sure would appreciate some positive thoughts. Coming my way today when I have to go tell my grandson what's going to happen tomorrow. Okay? Because, you know, he's a human. He's just a kid. And I'm the only mother he has left. Now, you let this dry about 30 seconds, okay? And then we're going to put on some glossy gloss, and it'll be all done. Hear that clot? Got that on a trip to Carmel, California. It's going to play us a song, hopefully by the Beatles. Or not. Yep. Yesterday. Hey, thanks for letting me spend a little time with you guys today. And just remember that it's really a lot easier to be kind to someone than it is to be mean. Have a good one, and hopefully I'll see you in a day or two. Bye-bye.